Open your eyes, stretch, check your phone, eat breakfast, brush your teeth, and get ready and go to work. Most of us have a very similar routine. There are some days, however, where that just seems off, right? Some days you feel like you ate breakfast or swear you already brushed your teeth. Some of us joke and chalk it up as a glitch in the matrix. What if I told you that theory may not be as far-fetched as it sounds? Crazy things like Brexit, the Patriots' 25-point Super Bowl comeback, and even paranormal activity can be attributed to the possibility of living in some type of computer simulation. It's been covered in movies, books, and TV shows, and today we're covering it in podcast form. Will you take the blue pill and stay in your cozy life, or will you take the red pill and unplug from the matrix with us? The choice is yours. Today's topic, simulation theory.
Welcome to the Skeptaholics podcast, your source for all things conspiracy, true crime, unexplained, and unsolved. All we ask is that you keep an open mind and always question everything.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Skeptaholics podcast. Tonight, we have another great episode, as always. Tonight, we're covering simulation theory. My name is Jamie, and I'm 1/3 of this podcast, and I'm here, as always, with the second third of the podcast, Paul. What's going on, brother?
How's it going?
And rounding us out, back this week after an absence last week, is our resident logical third of the podcast, producer Bill. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, everybody? Glad to be back. Sorry about last week.
Glad to have you back. Don't let it happen again.
Yes, sir.
Oh, another week. I'm pretty excited to learn some stuff this week, to be honest. This isn't one that I've really delved too much into, which might sound kind of odd, but
Yeah, I mean, it might sound more odd considering it was my choice, but yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It's just always something that's really intrigued me, kind of grabbed me.
definitely one of the most plausible ones. I mean, I guess maybe not even plausible is the right word, but hard to disprove, I guess, more so than a lot of conspiracies.
Exactly. I think Elon Musk was one that said it best. You know, it's 1 in 1 billion or something like that we're not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that guy's pretty smart, so.
That guy's really smart. Sorry about the flashing in and out, by the way. I was trying to get our display capture and window capture set right. We're going to try something a little different this week, just so that I'm not sitting here staring off over here and my audio isn't getting picked up. We're going to do a window capture on Discord, and I'm going to be doing my read off of my main screen over the top of Discord. So we had to set it up this way so that you guys didn't see that when I pulled it over. And I struggling a little bit to get it working, but I just got it up and running, so we're good to go.
Right on.
But
we're not supposed to give him technology.
Yeah, no.
Like,
somehow
it's like don't feed the gremlins or whatever after midnight.
Yeah. Somehow I ended up being the operation behind this operation, so
that's how you know it's a shit show.
Yes.
There we go. That's
where most of our technical difficulties come from. Other than that, we have one thing to address from last week. So the Dale Earnhardt Sr. crash. That one really bothered me after we covered it, and I deep dove it hardcore this last week, and in between editing a video for YouTube and editing the audio portion of the podcast for the podcast apps, which if you didn't catch it at the end of last week's episode, we are up. If for some reason you can't make an episode to watch it, go find us there. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and Amazon Music /Alexa. But in between editing everything for all of those, I was really deep diving stuff on that Dale Earnhardt Sr. crash. And I believe it was the night before Thanksgiving, I messaged Pants. I found one video on like the deep pages of YouTube that showed the proper audio or proper video for what we remembered. And looking into it more, the video that we showed and the video footage that gets used the most in the videos on YouTube is a hacked together video. It's the video from the crash at Daytona, but when they take Senior out of the car, they switch to a video from Talladega, another bad crash that he had had about 4 years earlier.
Yeah, and it was in '96.
Yeah. So that was something that we felt necessary to clear up, because obviously nothing we tell you guys all the time, nothing that we say is gospel, nothing
Right.
set in stone. And I mean, at least when we do find something contrary like that, we're going to come on here and tell you, hey guys, we were wrong. This is the right information. That video is up on YouTube. If anybody wants a link to see it, I can get it and post it up anywhere. I can put it in the comments here, anything, if anybody's that interested. But we did feel it was at least strong to our character to come on here and let you guys know that we kind of goofed up. I goofed up. So with that being
Well, I mean,
said,
in all reality, it's I put the blame more on the person that stitched together that video. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
yeah.
Why are you doing shit like that other than for views?
Well, and
You know? And I mean,
I don't understand how that stitched together footage became like the gospel for everybody else. Like I said, every other video that I've watched on it either doesn't show anything post-rec or uses that footage.
right.
And there was just the one video that showed what you and I remembered. They cut the roof off the car. They did a roof roll on it to the driver's side. And the EMT that you talked about, that your mom had sent you the article for, you can see her taking Dale Sr.'s lifeless body out of the car and putting him on the backboard like I had remembered. So the video footage is out there to kind of disprove that Mandela effect that we let off with last week. Just kind of incidentally. It wasn't even really planned to be part of the podcast, and it was something I had found in the midst of my research, and because it hit so close to home for you and I, something I thought would be cool to cover.
Well, I blame Bill for not being here last week. He would have totally picked it up. Just been like, nope, that's not right.
Logical Bill would have said,
It's all William's fault.
My fault.
So, well, boys, with that knocked out of the way, how do you guys feel about getting this show kicked off?
Let's do it.
All right.
We're here.
Well, staying true to our kind of weekly fashion, I got something I want to talk about before we get into the podcast. Did you guys hear about this monolith in Utah that was discovered by the helicopter pilots?
Yes.
I think I saw a little video, but it may have been something that one of you two sent me.
So get this, did you guys hear? I just caught the word today. I don't know how old this news is. It disappeared.
What?
Yeah. It was there and now it's gone.
So give us a little bit of a backstory on it if you do, because I got to be honest, I kind of glanced over the video, but with having a newborn and stuff, things have been kind of crazy. So
yes,
I didn't really look into much.
I've got this article pulled up here, but in a nutshell, basically what happened is there were some helicopter pilots out doing a flight, and they ended up landing because they saw this thing from the air, and it was just an unexplained monolith out in a rock formation in the middle of the desert.
Let me stop you there for a second. They were actually scientists. I don't know if you call them scientists. I don't remember the exact term, but they were out in the helicopter looking for rams, and they were counting how many there were, and they happened to notice it just sitting there, and so they decided to land.
Rams like an animal, like a male sheep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what it says in the article is they were flying by helicopter helping the Division of Wildlife Resources count bighorn sheep in southeastern Utah. They spotted something that seemed right out of a 2001 A Space Odyssey movie. One of the biologists spotted it and he just happened to fly directly over the top of it. He was like, whoa, 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 turn around. And the pilot was like, what? And he says, there's this thing back there. We've got to look at it. And it says there it was. In the middle of the red rock was a shiny silver metal monolith sticking out of the ground. It goes on to say that they assume that it's some sort of new wave artist or something, you know, somebody that was a big 2001 A Space Odyssey fan. Still, it's illegal to install structures or art without authorization on public lands, no matter what planet you're from, said Utah Department of Public Services in a statement released on Monday.
Okay, tough guy.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this guy gonna do if the aliens came down and installed it? Yeah, don't put that on my land. They're gonna vaporize you.
So anyway, they
Unreal.
it goes on to say that the location of the monolith was not disclosed because they didn't want anybody becoming stranded in a remote landscape needing to be rescued.
That's convenient.
But several people did successfully locate it, tucked in a red rock slot canyon south of Moab. It doesn't say anything in the article about anybody removing it, but I did pull up another article on it being removed. But I've got images of this thing. I'm gonna pull.
You know, does this really surprise you guys? This is at Moab. Like, is there any better place in the United States with a better name for something like this to show up as Moab?
No.
I mean, is there a better year for it to show up either?
Exactly.
2020? I mean, of all fucking years, 2020.
So I'm gonna pull this over. I don't know that. All right, there it is. I'm switching back and forth between scenes, but here's a picture of it. And this is one of the team from the helicopter when they had found the thing. There's a few different pictures of the team with it. And anything that I read, it doesn't state.
Not as big as I pictured.
No. Anything that I read, it doesn't state whether or not they tried to remove it or whether it could be removed or anything like that by human force.
I'll say, do you know, was it just like sitting on the ground or was it like buried?
I don't know if it was sitting on the ground. I don't know if it was something that was, for lack of better terms, installed.
So hey, can I cut you off there really quick?
Yeah.
So it might be the work of an artist called John McCracken.
Okay.
I don't know if you've looked into him or heard of him. It's something I recently discovered just a couple days ago. He was an artist, and all of his art after he died, he wanted to spread around the world in various locations randomly. He was a huge Space Odyssey fan. He was a huge sci-fi fan, and that's where all of his art came from. And he even has almost an identical monolith in his house now that he's passed away. It's right there in the center foyer. As you walk in, it looks almost identical. So there's rumors going around now that he's the one who did it before he passed away.
Yes.
Oh God, my dog's barking.
So, if this guy's dead,
yeah,
how's he spreading this stuff around the world?
Well, he did it before he died. Was the point I was trying to get at?
How long would he die? When did he die? You know?
That I don't know off the top of my head. This is
I mean,
just something I stumbled across. And it's just funny that you brought it up because I had just stumbled across this like 2 days ago.
I mean, it's plausible, but I mean, if he died 10 years ago, nobody's found this thing till now.
Hold on, let me find when he died. Hold on.
And now it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the article that I pulled up about
this
it being
is the first time I'm hearing it's gone. I haven't heard of it being gone until right now.
The article that I pulled up about it being gone didn't actually have anything in it. Ooh. Are we gonna turn this into an ASMR podcast?
Here we go. Yes.
Oh,
yes. Sarah says 2011. So you're telling me this thing's been sitting here for 9 years in Moab, which is like kind of desolate, but a lot of people like hike and bike and ride and stuff there, and nobody found it till now.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I don't know. It wouldn't be too surprising.
I mean, they haven't found Bigfoot yet, so I guess.
All right, he's our fucking logo.
Yep. So I found an article here it states that Utah officials say it's been removed, but it's unclear who removed it. It says that we have received credible reports that the illegally installed structure, referred to as the monolith, has been removed from Bureau of Land Management public lands by an unknown party, read a statement posted on Facebook. The BLM did not remove the structure, which is considered private property.
The aliens did it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could take the hat off if you want.
Yeah.
So they said they go on to say that it's estimated to be between 10 and 12 feet high. And they were kind of joking around that if one of us suddenly disappears, then I guess the rest of us make a run for it.
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
I was reading. What did I miss?
No, rock boss said you were gonna traffic cone. Oh fuck! I gotta turn comments off. All right, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can't look at any more of those. That's gonna put me over.
It's
Unreal.
It's hunting season. We got to dress the part around here, you know. Speaking of which, boys, holy fuck, am I fired up? Did I ever have a good din tonight?
Oh, there
Okay.
we go.
Me and the oldest had back straps with beer fried potatoes and corn.
Now you're making me hungry, and I just had dinner, so.
Yes. If it makes you feel any better, I ate like 1.5 pounds of the 2 pounds of back straps. So
Not surprised.
that is,
Good Lord.
that's my weakness. And I mean, okay, so I gotta say this though too. I don't mean to put out any of our viewers who may live a vegan lifestyle, or our listeners for that matter. I'm one of those people. You live the lifestyle you choose, and it's not gonna bother me. I don't care what happens. But where at least 2 of the 3 of us are from in the Midwest, hunting's a big part of our culture, and venison is something that I will never say no to.
All right.
So, anyway, with the monolith knocked out of the way, and it just mysteriously disappearing, let's kick off this podcast about simulation theory.
Here we go.
So, the government definitely took it down, right?
No, it says that the Bureau of Land Management did not touch it, and they do not know who took it down. They refused to touch it because it was private property. And we all know what happened the last time the Bureau of Land Management got involved with touching private property, or for that matter, slaughtering private livestock. We had the Bundy massacre, which we'll cover.
That stuff doesn't happen.
We'll cover that on a later episode. Yeah, the Bundys never happened. Waco never happened. Ruby Ridge never happened. They don't do stuff like that.
The government always has your best interest at heart.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go vomit for a second. So, starting off the simulation theory, I kind of, Paul has more of the information on the theory itself, but basically, just really quick, it's a theory that we're living in a computer simulation. We're dreaming, I guess, is kind of a way you could think about it. A good like movie to watch, or movie series, would be the Matrix trilogy. It kind of is the same idea as to how the theory goes. A little bit of differences, but same idea overall. So I kind of have some information about that.
I'll actually cover this, but there's 2 different parts to the theory, and the Matrix is what one of the 2 sides of the theory are based off of. So it's actually a very accurate depiction into one of the 2. I mean, it's part of the same theory. They both have the same mindset, but it's looking at it from 2 different ways.
Just like anything, people have different causations for however anything happens.
Yep.
So most of you have seen the Matrix trilogy, I'm assuming. If you haven't, like I said, it's kind of what I just described. I'll describe it a little bit here. Supposedly there is a 4th one coming out too. They are filming it. I think it's supposed to come out in 2021, but we'll see. So a lot of this will seem like a refresher, but there is quite a bit that maybe didn't click when you were watching the movie. I know it happened for me because the movie, like the first one came out in '99, and the second and third one both came out in 2003, I believe. And so, I mean, for somebody like me, that's a lifetime ago. I mean, I was, it's more than half my life ago. Um, so a lot of the things that I saw when I was watching the movies didn't quite click like they do now, being more knowledgeable and looking into them. So basically, the world that they knew it is actually a computer simulation that we're just plugged into, I guess, is kind of how the movie correlates with this theory. And in all reality, we're in a comatose state somewhere else with no knowledge of what's really happening. So, starting from the beginning, the Matrix is basically this. The entire human population is trapped in a simulation of the real world. Their bodies are being used as a means of biological energy to power the human created artificial intelligence. And so if you ever watch the movie, like it'll show you there's like racks of pods with people in them that are plugged in, and they're just harvesting this energy from these humans to continue the simulation. And so reading what I just said, yeah, humans in the movie created the artificial intelligence that eventually became too intelligent and eventually took over the world, thus enslaving the creators. Hell of a movie plot, right? Almost kind of sounds like real life sometimes with our phones and social media and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So a little bit more, there are certain humans that make it out of the simulation in this movie. Again, I'm still referring to the Matrix, and into the real world. And most of them are because of a group of humans going around and trying to wake people up. One of the crews is led by a man named Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne, and piloting the hover ship, the Nebuchadnezzar. These last humans' sole purpose in life is to go out and into the Matrix. They plug actually on their ship, they have these same kind of setups that are in these pods, and they plug themselves in and go into the Matrix, into the simulation, and try to wake people up to take the real world back. And they wake them up by kind of pointing out the obvious flaws in the system or glitches in the Matrix. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
Which is in the simulation. There you go.
Right. So they'll come to you and they'll offer you the blue pill or red pill. Again, see what I did there? In which the blue pill puts you to sleep and you wake up back in your bed thinking your encounter with Morpheus and company was just an odd dream, blissful ignorance. And the red pill is a tracking device so that when you swallow the red pill, the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar in the real world can come and find you in your pod and physically pull you out, because it's something to do with these people have to believe that the Matrix exists before they can actually be pulled out, or I believe it'll actually kill them. It'll mental trauma or whatever, and they just won't survive. So, lots of fighting and shooting ensues as a typical most Hollywood blockbusters, blah, blah, blah. It's a good movie, but there is a lot of embellishment there, explosions and whatnot. But one of the big things that I wanted to touch on, and this one kind of hits me personally, and it's kind of a big part of the Matrix movie and possibly simulation theory as well, is the phenomenon known as deja vu. So in the movies, deja vu was a sign that the artificial intelligence had changed something on the fly. So one of the main movie scenes that people see is they're walking up the stairs, and there's like 6 of them or whatever. They're walking up the stairs, and Keanu Reeves sees a black cat walk by the hallway, and he stops and looks at it, and then he looks back and looks back again, and the same cat does the same thing, exactly the same time and everything. And then they kind of go on to explain that when that happens, it's because the artificial intelligence had added something in to the code that wasn't normally there. And in this case, I believe it was they added agents in that are trying to, because artificial intelligence doesn't want these people to be woken up, because if enough people get woken up, the artificial intelligence will essentially die. So they add these agents into the code that'll eliminate you, because if you die in the Matrix via bullet trauma or whatever, you die in real life. So deja vu is a French term that translates literally to English, meaning already seen. And on a side note, deja vu is something that affects me hugely in my life. And before people go off in the comments and stuff about strokes and whatever, um, I've suffered from deja vu a lot since I was a kid. It's even to this day, it's multiple times a week. I would say 3-4 times a week. I'll have like just a little. All right, man, I feel like I've been here, whatever. But the big thing is that probably twice a year, I'll actually have this like spell where deja vu will hit me so bad that I feel physically sick to my stomach, and I literally can predict what happens next for the next few seconds. So you can even ask my wife about this one if anybody ever gets to talk to her. There was an incident couple of years ago at a restaurant here in town where it happened, and people that know me, I love to eat. I couldn't finish my meal. I was so sick because it hit me. So that's why I kind of wanted to cover this part a little bit.
She's in the comments. She can speak up too.
What?
If she wants to validate that, she's in the comments. She can validate it there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to put her on the spot or anything,
Yeah.
but just I don't want you guys to think I'm bullshitting you either. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. I mean, when I was a teenager, it was 6, 7, 8 times a week. My wife wants me to go to the doctor. She said the restaurant episode was terrifying. It actually was pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie. That was probably the worst one that ever happened. So I not to get too far into it, but yeah, I mean, it hit me, and I said out loud that what the waitress was going to come up to us and say, and 10 seconds, she walked up and said exactly that, and it hit me. Like, it felt like I got hit by a train, and I couldn't eat. We had to go home. So was it a glitch in the matrix? I don't know, but there is scientific evidence as to what they think it is. They theorize that it could be mini strokes or a sign of temporal lobe epilepsy. I guess we'll find out if I someday start seizing. But until then, I can't. I mean, I've had a checkup, I guess, maybe not neurologically for that kind of stuff, but there's nothing else that's wrong. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Now Pants is going to be a test subject for the government because the FBI agent is currently watching. Like, how did we miss that?
He shouldn't have remembered that one.
How does he know what's happening?
Yeah. I'm gonna be on the next Men Who Stare at Goats movie. So one of the explanations for deja vu, besides scientifically being a stroke or epilepsy, is a glitch in the matrix. There's that term again. So Albert Einstein, ever heard of him?
No, who's that?
Okay. So just to add some validity to his statement, I guess, it's Albert Einstein, right? So he theorized that time doesn't actually exist as we know it. And I'm going to get a little sciencey here, but it's pretty layman's terms because I wrote it down, so it can't be that crazy. He theorized time is actually a human construct made to establish order and structure. And however, there is a theory that time is simply an illusion, and fits of deja vu actually give us a small break from that. Moving on, that would ultimately explain why it feels like we've been in the moment before when you have a fit of deja vu. If we believe that time is something that we made up, then in theory, the past, the present, and the future would all actually be happening simultaneously right now. And so if the simulation had a glitch, think of it like 3 timelines running parallel to each other, right? And we're experiencing them all at the same time. Everything's seamless. You don't even notice it, but all of a sudden there's a glitch in the code. Everything kind of gets screwed up. And that's kind of the theory as to why you see something from the past or the future. And that's why you think, you feel like you've been here before. The theory does have some larger implications though, because if deja vu really is a glitch in the simulation, this would mean that there's something wrong with the code of the simulation every time there's an instance of deja vu, right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I feel like you got something, Bill.
No, just like, I mean, every other thing that we use today, there's always, an error here and there, right?
Well,
So
Right.
why does it seem
Right.
so far-fetched to think that if we were living in a simulation, that every here and there could be, as I say, a
Right.
glitch?
It needs
Like,
an
why it's
update or
not
whatever.
so far-fetched to think.
and
Right.
let's remember the fact that in the Matrix, the movie, the Matrix itself is consisted of binary code, so it's nothing but a series of ones and zeros, and it was coded by a being in the real world. And anybody who's played video games, which a lot of what I cover is going to compare to video games, but anybody who's played video games knows that you run into errors all the time.
Mhm.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed, as much as I love the new game, has been killing me. I've blue screened like 13 times since I've had it.
Yeah.
Glitch in
And
the Matrix.
it's not even something as big as that, but it's something. I mean, one of our friends and I were playing the video game Ark right before we started the podcast, and one of the megalodon sharks on Ark was sitting there just straight up and down on the beach, still alive. We had to kill it, but it was glitched out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it could be. So in that glitch in the Matrix part with the 3 timelines and whatever, and now think to how I described the Matrix before being, you're in a simulation world and your body's in a pod or whatever you want to say in the real world. Another theory of how UFO sightings happen is that those are actually a glitch in the Matrix as well. Because when the glitch happens, it kind of screws up everything and allows us to see into that real world. So that's kind of one of the theories also of deja vu, that it's actually not, you're not actually looking at back in a time, you're actually seeing the real world. And a big part of kind of diving into simulation theory here a little bit, to kind of lead Paul in, a big part of why people believe in simulation theory is how quickly technology's advanced in the last 50 years, let's just say. I mean, if you think about it, I haven't been around all that long, but I mean, even just in my lifetime, the way technology's advanced is insane. Think about somebody like, say, like our grandparents that are in their 70s, something like that. Some of them may have been born before microwaves existed. Like, could you imagine not having a microwave right now? Could you imagine buying a house and just like not having a microwave? Like, yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yes, Paul.
I feel it important to note that Betty White is indeed older than sliced bread.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine somebody like her? Could you imagine somebody like her walking into her kitchen every morning and grabbing a slice of bread to put in the toaster and being like, I didn't even know what either of these were at one time. These didn't exist. And now look at us right now. I mean, going from not having packaged sliced bread, having to make your own bread at home all the time, or buying a full loaf from a bakery, to being able to have a podcast from across the country live.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this, but back in the day, the way they did podcasts was through letters.
wow.
Had no idea.
Think about.
I'm pulling that one out from the depths of your bowels, aren't you?
God, we appreciate you being here. Is there a way to mute certain channels? Like, could you just mute him? Is that something that we could do? Kick him from the chat.
Well,
yeah,
speaking of muting and kicking me, I do have to step off to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, you're all good. Unbelievable. Guy's got a bladder that's this big. I promise. It's the size of a kidney stone.
It happens.
Unbelievable.
It happens.
So again, in the last, let's just say 50 years or so, the way the technology has advanced. But if you think about it, 50 years is just a blip in the radar of history. Like, if you look at the whole timeline of human civilization, even say modern civilization, which I don't know where you'd start that from.
Humanity in itself is only estimated to be about 13,000 years old.
Yeah.
And we're talking that the universe Earth in general has existed for close to 14 billion years.
Yeah. So take 14 billion and divide it by 50,
It's like 0.01%.
or 50 divided by 14 billion, or however that would work
Yeah.
out. I'm not a math whiz. That's why I'm here doing this.
I'm
But
not
yeah,
either,
so
and I feel your
I mean,
pain
it's
on that.
nothing. It's nothing. And just think about how far we've come with, I mean, anything. If you want to have a real mind blow, especially if you're like my age, like if you were born in the 50s, 60s, even the 70s, maybe it's not that crazy to you, but somebody that's born like in the late 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s, just go back and like do some research on technology invented in the last 50 years. It'll explode your mind on things that, like when my parents were kids, they didn't have, that we look at today, and it's like, what do you mean you didn't have? What did you do? What did you do if you didn't have that?
That reminds me of a Facebook post that I saw either yesterday or today. It was something along the lines of, if today were today but 25 years ago, what video game would you be playing? And I commented on there, none. I'd be outside playing because video games weren't that big yet.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, 25 years ago, I would have been 7. You're talking about the end of the first generation Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, and Super Nintendo just being introduced. Right about this time of year back then, right before Christmas. So, I mean, we had moved on to the 4th and 5th consoles ever to be made at that point. There was no PlayStations. Video gaming wasn't what it is today.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, you went from, I think it was part of the Elon Musk quote that I have a little bit later, and I'm sure you have it as well.
Probably.
Where he said, 30, 40, 35 years ago, we were playing Pong with 2 lines and a ball.
Yep.
And now, I mean, look at like Assassin's Creed, like I just talked about. I
Yep.
mean, it looks like you're there. It looks like you're watching it through a window.
Yep.
So what I'm getting at is, imagine another 50 years. If that's the advancements we made in the last 50 years, imagine another 50 years. What's to say we don't have an artificial intelligence system?
Your mom says she loved her Atari, and that's actually the first video game system I ever played.
Yeah,
I think it was
crazy.
What, the 2600 or the 2800? I don't remember what the Atari was, the home system.
I don't know. That's before my time.
Yeah. Christ,
So,
I'm so old. I got 12 years on you.
Yeah, something like that. 15 maybe.
Yeah.
So again, the last 50 years, there's that time where we've advanced from televisions with less than 5 channels to watch, or even just maybe 1 channel to watch that comes in clear, to being able to put a headset on and sit in your living room in a completely fabricated reality, and that you're in your living room. You don't have to leave your house.
Yeah.
You can put an Oculus headset on, and it's like you're in a simulation.
Yep.
Right. So
I remember, I'm so old, I remember when cartoons only came on Saturday morning. There was no Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of simulation, I feel like I just jumped back into one. Who are you guys?
You did.
Yikes.
You don't believe everything you see, Bill.
Okay.
So I mean, who's to say that growth technology isn't exponential? And so if that's the case, can you imagine what happens in the next 50 years? So one of the questions too that kind of comes up a little bit leading into simulation theory is, who could be running it, right? Could it be anything from an advanced alien race to future humans? It could easily be something as simple as being created in order to run situations to find solutions to their own problems from people in the future.
I touch on a little bit of this too, so
yeah, I'm almost done, so I just got into it a little bit.
Yeah. I was letting I was letting our viewers and listeners know, so that if they're wanting more out of that.
Yeah, we won't leave you hanging, don't worry. Something as solution to global warming, nuclear war, how do belief systems such as religion affect mass amounts of people? I mean, think like The Sims, right? Like everybody's played The Sims. It
Mhm.
literally could be that. It could be somebody sitting at a computer somewhere, and this. I mean, this is our life. It's possible. So the last couple things I have was to lend credence to this theory, along with Albert Einstein. I have two quotes from, let's just say, famous, and not only famous, intelligent human beings regarding simulation theory. So, SpaceX and Tesla founder Elon Musk, ever heard of him?
Nah.
Is quoted as saying,
Who's that guy?
I mean, guy's smart. I say what you want about him, but I
He
mean,
actually,
he's not a dummy.
in the last month, he went from fourth richest man, surpassed whoever was in third, and I just read this week that he surpassed Bill Gates for the second position. So he's giving Bezos a run for his money right now for richest man in the world.
Which, hang on though, Bill, if you can, or Paul, or whoever, I want you to look it up. How big of a difference is there still between
Bezos
Musk now and Jeff Bezos? I bet you it's a lot.
Last I looked, when Musk was the fourth richest man in the world, he was his net worth was $92 billion. I'll look it up and see if anything has changed, but I think Bezos is sitting right about $148 billion.
Okay, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're talking $50 billion.
I mean, let's face it, Dr. Evil was planning on releasing sharks with freaking lasers for less than that.
Yeah.
So
I was watching a video, I believe, one day, and I'm kind of getting off track here a little bit, but kind of blew my mind. It was like the difference between a million and a billion. Like, it doesn't sound like that much of a difference.
Pants,
But if you look at it,
I sent you that.
was that the video you sent me?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's like a million seconds is like 5 days or something like that. Was that what it was, or a week or something?
Yeah, it was a week, and then a billion
Yeah.
seconds. It was like 47 years or something like that.
Yeah, 52 years, I believe it was, or something. So like,
Yeah.
there's a big difference. Now we're not talking just a billion. We're talking 50 billion.
Yeah.
yeah.
A
So
lot of money.
I found it. Jeff Bezos' current net worth is 178 billion, and what skyrocketed Elon Musk from fourth or fifth to second in such a short period of time is a massive sale of shares in his car firm Tesla. He went from 7.2 billion to 128 billion, like that.
Here's what's fucked up though, is that 170 something billion, that's after his divorce, right? That's after Bezos' divorce.
Yes.
Yeah. Could
Yeah,
you imagine what because I think she got like
She got half.
70 billion.
Yeah.
When they got
like
divorced.
half. Yeah, like half of what he.
So
what
if
he
you
made.
think about it, he'd be over 200 right now.
Yeah. Roughly,
Unbelievable.
he'd be encroaching easily on right around $250 billion without that divorce.
You can throw me a few bones, that'd be pretty sweet.
I mean, we're talking about a man who could literally drop his wallet with $250,000 in it, and it doesn't. He would make more money leaving it there and not picking it up than he would bending over and picking it up.
Your wife said she married the wrong person.
Well,
So the quote from Elon Musk, I'll get these two quotes out of the way and I'll hand it off. Yeah, he said, so given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or a PC or whatever, there would probably be billions of such computers or set-top boxes. It would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality, meaning we're not in a simulation, is in theory 1 in billions. So we're just talking about a billion. That's a lot. The other quote I have is from well-known astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Ever heard of him?
Yep.
In being asked his opinion on simulation theory, he said, and now this is like one of the smartest dudes on the planet. Like, this guy's no joke.
Before you go on with that, if there is anything in this podcast that leaves you wanting more, he actually did a very phenomenal podcast on simulation theory that you guys need to go look up after you listen to this one all the way through, of course.
I believe it. And then after you listen again,
Yes.
download it and listen again.
Yes.
He said, I wish I could summon a strong argument against it, but I can find none.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's from...
Thank you, NDT. That's good enough for me.
I mean, have you guys ever seen the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they're talking about the I forget which character it was, but he's all like pinned out on the fucking whiteboard, just talking about how all the people in the past who were the smartest people, right, are now the dumbest people because what they said was not actually true.
Yeah.
It sort of goes into what we're talking about. Like, why someone's gonna reference us in like 80 years and be like, fucking idiots. So obvious.
I mean, people already are. My wife calls me an idiot on a regular, so love you so, honey. I don't care. I'm your idiot. You picked me.
Unfortunately,
hey, I don't know. I think there's a coup de grace happening in our chat. It looks like your wife and my wife are plotting to leave us and go find rich men.
If you look, I'm also doing the same thing. So,
I mean,
just imagine how many small block Chevys I could have with $172 billion.
Yes.
I gotta say, I love being the only single guy here watching two of my friends move for marriages.
Watching our marriage completely combust.
Just gonna put that out there. Cheers to you guys.
Yes. So, Pants, just a heads up, you went grainy on us again and kind of glitchy. But I have a little bit more to touch on the Matrix movies. Just plays into the character base a little bit more and such that I had... It came from a lot of my research, which I didn't directly research the Matrix. But because this movie series was such a huge factor in this simulation theory becoming a thing, it's referenced quite a bit across all different aspects of research. So you talked about Morpheus in the Matrix series being kind of like one of the leaders of the crew that was going around and trying to wake people up from the simulation. Yep. He was actually named after the Greek god for the dream world. Mr. Smith, which is all of the AI agents in the movie series, they're kind of the equivalent in a video game aspect of a non-player controlled, you'll hear me reference this quite a bit, non-player controlled, or NPC for short. But they're the equivalent of an NPC in a video game. Mr. Anderson, who was played by Keanu Reeves, becomes known as Neo. This is suspected by the fact that once out of the Matrix, a device is inserted into a plug that links to the neocortex of the brain, which allows travel between the simulations. And everything he originally perceived to be reality was now beamed through this connection. So once he took that red pill and agreed to wake up and realize that there's a real world outside of the simulation that he lives in, everything was done through this plug that connected to the neocortex.
Yeah, literally, like, if you've never seen the movie, it's like this fucking spike this big. And it, like, you get like a little port stuck in the back of your head, like it's right at the base of your skull. And you lay down in the thing and they literally just shank you.
Yes.
Fuck that.
So I'm going to start out my little bit of research talking about solipsism. And what solipsism is the view or theory...
Sounds like a venereal disease.
I mean, I can't. Can I mute him while I do this, Bill?
Talking about mutant people, here we go.
Yes. So, solipsism is a viewer theory that the self is all that can be known to exist. To put that kind of into more layman's terms, when we think about the rest of the world around us, our consciousness doesn't recognize anybody else's consciousness. Even like me sitting here with the two of you in this podcast, you guys exist to me, but I don't think about you guys having a consciousness that is equivalent to mine. I think of you guys as just, and it's subconscious, it's not direct thought, it's not intentional, but we don't tend to realize that other people feel the same way we do. And that plays heavy into simulation theory. So, what is simulation theory? Albert Einstein had said that all reality is just an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Simulation theory is the thought or belief that all of reality, life, Earth, the universe, could be a simulation like that in a computer or video game. It is believed that with simulation theory, an infinite number of simulations may exist. This is due to two different factors. The first is that the creator of the simulation could run multiple simulations at a time, and that each simulated existence could advance to a point of creating their own simulations. So it's kind of back to, like we talked about with the Mandela effect and CERN, that Russian nesting doll theory, wherein we get worlds inside of worlds inside of worlds, and holy Christ, is that bright, and I can't fix it.
You're fine.
Sorry, you guys are going to have to deal with it. So, moving on, there are three major factors that lead into the creation of a simulation and whether or not it's capable of being done. The first is that a civilization's ability to reach the technological advancement of creating a simulation, also known as the simulation point. The second is the civilization's decision to not create the simulation based off of their own ethics. And the third is that civilization reaches the simulation point and they create many different simulations. Now, this isn't unlike anything we're already seeing in our world. We look at the world around us today. We have scientists, we have people writing algorithms, many people doing different simulations for different things. They do simulations for election results. They do simulations for kind of like a non-biased polling on product necessities, stuff like that. So if you look at the world around us right now, there's already a lot of this going on just on a smaller scale, a smaller level, and not really involving something as expansive as a simulated universe. But there's a lot of different simulations that already exist, and we're teetering on that point of being able to break into a simulation world like we may be living in.
Well, it's like the exponential growth of technology that we touched on before. I mean,
Yes.
it could be coming.
Yeah, I mean, I have a flight simulator on my PC now, right now, that if I wanted to, I could fly to my parents' house. It is that accurate. And they use Google Maps and they lay out the lay of the land, and I can literally fly from Oregon, from the little airport right by my apartment, right to my parents' house.
Like you can just land right on their, like Santa Claus.
I could crash land into the pool of my parents'
And-
backyard.
Nice flex, bro. Jeez. It's fucking frozen here 6 months out of the year. You can't have a damn pool.
Well, they live in San Diego, so
Nice.
their cold is 60 degrees. But yeah, my point is, yeah, like Paul's saying, we have like a exponential level of simulations just in our own, if we are living in one, in our own simulation.
Yeah.
Well, and that's before
Right.
we even touch on simulated video games like that. That's, you know, just talking about algorithm simulations in themselves, where, you know, you take the history of somebody, if you accumulate voting simulation, for example, you accumulate everybody's past voting history and you run a simulation to see how an election's going to turn out. it's already something along that lines. So, in essence, creating a simulation would be as simple as just firing up a new server and creating the world around the simulation. With that being said, according to this theory, if you add up the billions of beings in a simulated world, as well as the number of beings in the base world that creates the simulation, it is more likely that you are a simulated being than that of one of the base world. So what that's saying is basically, if
That makes sense.
if we are in the simulation and we suspect that we're in a simulation, there's what 7.4 billion people on planet Earth.
Something like that.
If you take that and you put it in a comparison of what could be existence in the base world, it's going to turn out more likely that we are a simulation of a simulation of a simulation, so forth and so on. And the likelihood of us being of the base world is very, very tiny. And I'll get into actual numbers actually in the next paragraph.
So it's like Inception.
Yes.
Like a dream inside of a dream inside of a dream.
Yes.
Exactly. It just
So
keeps going and going and going.
and the number actually comes from Elon Musk. I think you might have said it earlier, but we'll get into it in this paragraph here. So the topic of simulation theory has gotten extremely popular since the movie The Matrix was released. Initially, it was just a science fiction piece, but it blew up across many different planes of research as a possibility. Elon Musk was quoted saying that 40 years ago we had two rectangles and a dot, known as Pong. And today we have virtual and augmented reality, as well as massive online multiplayer communities spanning hundreds of titles. Every advancement in video game technology brings us a step closer to the simulation point, or the point at which a video game could become indistinguishable from reality, and the players would not know that they are inside of a video game. Elon Musk believes that the chances of us being in base reality are 1 in multiple billions. Moving on.
It's kind
Go
of
ahead.
like NDT with me. I mean, works for me. I mean, I'm not. Who am I to question it?
Yeah. So you had mentioned Inception. There's been a couple of different movies mentioned already. There are many other movies that in a roundabout way are about simulation theory, or at least hint at sectors of the movie that tie into simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
Films such as The Truman Show, Source Code, Inception, The Butterfly Effect, The 13th Floor, Avatar, Existence, Ready Player One, and Deja Vu.
I just watched Deja Vu last night, actually.
I need to go back and rewatch it. This really made me want to watch it again.
I forgot how fucked that movie is. It's free on Amazon Prime if you have that.
So since you just watched it, I'm going to touch a little bit on it. Feel free after this paragraph to add
actually made
in.
my wife watch it, and she was just like, what?
So the movie Deja Vu is a movie about a secret government program where they can use the folding of time to prevent crime. In the movie, they're tracking a terrorist, and they are capable of going back as far as 4 days to see what and where people were and what they were doing. They use the program to prevent the murder of a woman the terrorist that they are after thinks might turn him over to authorities.
Yeah, so it's like at first they only use the technology to be able to see what happened, because they think that anytime, so they describe it as time is linear, right? Like you have 1 point here and 1 point here, and what this technology does is they fold the piece of paper in half, and then they call it some kind of bridge, some name bridge they call it. And yeah, so eventually, spoiler alert, they do end up being able to actually send things back in time instead of just seeing. And it's wild. It is unbelievable.
Good movie. But when you
Honestly, I've seen it. Now I know what I'm watching tonight before I go to bed.
Dude, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free on there.
Yeah.
It's free on streaming.
But when you factor in these movies like the Butterfly Effect, it's been a long time since I've seen a movie, but vague memory.
Ashton Kutcher, right?
Ashton Kutcher if I'm not mistaken, he has the capability to go back in time, but he's got to be careful about what he does because one little ripple, and this is where the term butterfly effect was coined, anything that he changes has a drastically greater impact on the future.
It's exponential as it goes.
He could sneeze and it could literally cause him to not exist in the future.
Right. The domino effect.
Well, the butterfly effect was coined much earlier than him.
It was, but that's why the butterfly effect was coined, because the wind off of a butterfly's wings has the potential to change so much in the world around it that we don't stop and think about in day-to-day life.
Like letting me be married to Jeff Bezos.
Yes. And
you guys underestimate my love of money.
Oh, good.
I mean, pants isn't gay.
I'm already balding. He's bald. I mean,
you're that much closer.
It sounds like pants isn't gay, but $20 is $20.
Maybe I'm his type.
No, I think what you meant was 74 billion or whatever.
174 billion.
I ain't gay, but 174 billion is 174 billion.
Yeah, there you go. That was a better reference.
Yes. So, and then we talked about Inception a little bit. Inception, in the movie, he's got a top, and he's got to spin a top. And if it keeps spinning, he knows he's in one of the dream worlds. Or if it stops and falls over, he knows he's back in reality. So there's a lot of really cool references in movies to this, too. And stuff that you might not, when you watch them in the past, stop and think about what it actually means until you start learning a little bit about what simulation theory actually is.
Yeah, fair enough.
So there are two versions of the simulation hypothesis out there. The NPC, or non-player controlled, like I stated earlier, version, which was coined by Nick Bostrom, and that is the belief that we are non-player artificial intelligence. The other is the RPG version, which is the belief that each person in the simulation exists outside of the simulation, and we play roles within the simulation through characters or avatars. So anybody who hasn't played video games,
Wait. Question. So, just being logical, Bill here.
Go ahead.
If this is a simulation and all of our decisions are controlled, okay. Now hear me out. Stick with me. How are we here talking about it on a podcast while they're deciding for us?
Well, are they deciding for us though, or is it just a simulation being run? Like you turn on the Sims and you hit go, and it's an infinite number of random interactions that you just get to watch. I mean, is that what you're saying? Because the Sims I remember playing is that I had to control everything. Like, oh, go take a shower, go down to the store, build this. See, I didn't play it too much. I assumed it was something where like you could affect change if you wanted to. Otherwise, you could just hit go and you could sit back and watch what happens.
Well, if you think back on the Sims, you controlled certain things. You could make your Sim go and sit down and watch TV. You couldn't control what your Sim watched. You could make your Sim go sit at the computer. You didn't control what your Sim did on the computer.
Well, because there was no option for it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, it's hard to explain, but if you look at video games like we have it now, and like I said, for our older viewers who may not play modern video games, a lot of what we have in video games today is a story tree. So we have options outlined for us how we can interact. You and I, Bill, watched a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Jamie's played it.
Yeah.
Every interaction that you have on that game, every storyline in that game, you interact, talk to a character, and then it comes up with a list of options you have to reply with, or list of physical things to do with that character. So everything,
and it affects everything.
yes.
I mean, every
So-
choice you make at the beginning of the game affects the ending of the game.
So what you're now including to simulation theory is a little bit of free will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because outside of that story tree, everything you do as your player controlled avatar or character also has an effect on the other things that happen. Think back to Skyrim. Did you play Skyrim a lot?
No,
Not much, no.
So
I'm not a fucking nerd.
I played the shit out of it. I am a fucking nerd, and I will wear that badge with honor because that is still one of the baddest ass games out there.
The game fucking sucks.
But in
I'll smack that dude right in his fucking mouth.
okay, the World of Warcraft, it's something you guys might not play. I never played it, but a lot of people know about it.
I actually played that quite a bit.
World of Warcraft, you picked your side. You were either Alliance or Horde. I played very little of it. I've got maybe 4 months total out of 10 years
It sucked.
where I've had a subscription to it. But so you got to pick either Alliance or Horde. You picked your side, you picked your character, and then as you went through the world, everything you did affected how your game was played. So it basically what it's saying is it's kind of like that. In Star Trek, there's another really good reference to it with the holodeck. The holodeck was a limited space virtual reality room. One of the characters, Professor Moriarty, said that some of the people in the holodeck were simulated, but some were real from a world out there, meaning in his case, out in the Enterprise. So what this kind of touches on is deja vu, going back to what Jamie talked about. Basically our dreams, our experiences from life outside of the simulation. When we go to sleep in this realm, the way this is explained is that anything that we dream is what our real being would experience in his real world. So if you put that in a essence of characters that we play, if we get on and we play Assassin's Creed, when we shut that system off, anything that character would dream is what we're really doing out here. If that makes any kind of sense.
Okay, fair enough. So Rocksteady in the comments asks, what if we are not actually conscious, but we are just part of one singular consciousness?
It's a possibility. So I didn't delve deep into it, but some of the videos I watched and research I did talked about that, and they're actually looking, one of the things that needs to happen before we can create a simulation in this world is being able to download consciousness. We'll touch on that here in a little bit, so I don't want to get too far into it, but I didn't deep dive it, and I'll wait until we get to it to go any further. But in some physics today...
Oh wait, that's racist. I forgot.
Okay. In some physics today, they view consciousness as a fundamental and a matter as a derivative. This causes a tug of war between the two different theories, the NPC versus RPG theory, as beliefs are reversed between the two. The movie The Matrix is an RPG-based simulation theory, whereas if it were to be shown from Agent Smith's side, it would be an NPG-based simulation theory. It is believed that there are 10 major points that civilization must advance through in order to reach a point where we could create a simulation. Text adventures, graphical arcade, graphical major multiplayer online RPG, virtual reality, photorealistic augmented reality, 3D printing and light field displays, brain brain/computer interfaces, false memories, artificial intelligence, and downloadable consciousness. So if we look at this list, text adventures, if you think back to the first computers that were available to society.
I loved those. Still to this day.
Yes.
I'll play them.
You had the old apples that you'd have to sit there, and if you put a disc in, you had to type in, go north. You found this. Go east. You found this. I
love those games.
Yeah. So that was the text adventures. Graphical arcades are more like your 8 and 16-bit early Pongs, some of the racing games, stuff they had for like Atari and Oregon Trail. It was a good side-scrolling game. Kind of a mix between graphical arcade and text adventure. But it was a lot of your earlier stuff. Graphical major multiplayer online RPGs. We're well beyond that for at least the last 15 years.
Tank Ball.
Yeah.
There was a game we used to play when I was in like 6th grade.
Yep.
Online. It's called Tank Ball.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to play the exact same game and know
Did you?
what you're talking about. Yeah, that shit was fun.
I never played it, but so
like them little stupid, you drive around them stupid little like glitchy ass tanks and shoot the fucking.
Yeah, you had to play it. You had to play it on that. What was that? Addictinggames.com?
It wasn't. No, there was a different site, but yeah, there was like 5 MMORPG games on that site.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it was something like that. You had to go to a website and you could play it from there.
Yeah, that's.
And you could like chat. You started your own little clans and shit. You'd like make your fucking name.
So I mean, we can all agree that we're well beyond that because we're already in a virtual reality. Virtual reality has been a thing for probably as long, about 15, 20 years. Not
quite a bit longer than you'd think.
Yeah, because it wasn't always on like an affordable scale, but I can remember even in like middle school when the local Midtown Mall had the arcade there, they had the arcade version of VR that you could go in and the helmet came down on the set, you could put it on and you could do things within a controlled probably 3-foot radius. So it's been around a while. Photorealistic augmented reality. We're kind of there. It's hit and miss how you want to define that. But it can be argued that we are there already. 3D printing and light field displays we already have. Brain-computer interfaces we're teetering on. Alright? So we are actually, if you look at this, we're about 2 to 3, depending on how you categorize the order. The next 3 are false memories, AI, and downloadable consciousness. If you switch AI and false memories, we could be 2 away from hitting the simulation point. If you leave it how it's listed now, we're about 3. But you have things like Neuralink and Neurobull. Neuralink is Elon Musk's brain implant that he's just recently in the last couple months announced, and they have high hopes of being able to cure a number of different things with that. I'd
rather die.
Yeah. So what it is it's a chip that they go in and implant in a brain, and it's basically it crosses you with.
I'm out.
It crosses.
Not happening.
It crosses human AI borders. They're thinking
love that man, but no.
They're thinking that they have the possibility to overcome paralysis with this and make people who are in either paraplegic or quadriplegic fully active again by writing code and having a chip take over the part of the brain that shut down that mobility. There's a lot of different things that they're doing. Neurobull is Princeton's, and they did a random study on number generators. Thoughts can somehow control the outcome of a quantum random number generator. So us just sitting here right now, if we were to go online and pull up a quantum random number generator, our thoughts can affect the outcome of that number generator is what they found.
What?
Yep.
Yeah, wait, back up.
Yep.
You have to reverse on that one. But
I don't understand it. I looked into it a little bit more. I cannot understand it. There wasn't enough information out there.
are you talking about like the wavelength of our thoughts or our
So-
actual thoughts?
It doesn't specify.
So what you're saying is if I go on Google and type in quantum number generator, and the whole time I'm typing in, I just think 69, 69, 69, 69, 69, 69, 69, 69. It'll pop up 69.
I'm not saying that. I haven't tried it. This is just what Princeton is claiming. Is that
Or
our
like if Bill did it and he typed it in and he was just thinking, it would pop up 420.
I don't know. I don't know. We
There's
can,
no way.
if you guys want
no
to, at the end of the podcast, we can try to find a quantum number generator.
Yeah, I want to
And-
try it because there's no way.
And we'll see. Like I said, I couldn't find information about how often, how frequently it impacted it, how they deduced the odds of that coming up versus your thoughts actually impacting it. All I was able to find on it is that they believe that thoughts can somehow impact it.
So do you think they're saying thoughts to technology, or do you think there's meaning also like thoughts to thoughts?
I'm
You know
not
what
sure.
I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure on that. Like I said, I found very, very little information on it. Either we lost Bill or he's deep diving
Nope.
something right
Oh,
now.
he's
Nope, I
he's
am
on a
looking
different
at
planet
quantum
right now.
numbers.
So companies are now trying to utilize this as it is capable of doing so without a cranial implant. They have been able to succeed with changing the color of a lamp with the change of a thought. Now, I wasn't.
Get the fuck out of here. No way.
I was not able to find the specific implementation here either of changing the color of a lamp. I do not know whether it was the lamp light that they were able to change the color of, or if it was the color of the lamp and personal perceptiveness that they were able to change the color of. All it stated is they were able to change the color of a lamp with the change of thought.
So now I have two things. So are you saying you're not sure if they literally changed the color of the lamp or if their brain just thought they did?
Yes.
Okay. I don't care about that. So did they use like a special bulb?
I'm not sure.
Or do you think they're saying I can just mind fuck this thing into turning blue?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I was not able to find enough on the studies to be able to give you that information.
Well, you know, as the famous Brick said from Anchorman, I love lamp.
It's not working.
Pants looks like he loves lamp.
So if I had to guess, I'd have to say, do you guys remember a couple years ago when that dress controversy happened? And some people saw it as white and gold and others saw it as black and blue?
Yep.
And succeeded, by the way. He changed the color of his lamp.
Good God.
I did.
Yes.
But yes,
Just changed
yes.
back.
I remember the.
But I
controversy,
wasn't thinking about red, so what's happening?
So, if you remember back to that dress, some people saw it as white and gold, others saw it as black and blue, and it was argumented, it was scientifically proven down to your perceptiveness, what part of your brain you use to perceive that dress, and that's how it was explained. But we're all on TikTok, we all send each other videos. I don't remember who sent who the video, but there was another video where there were two words on either side of the screen, and it says when this audio plays,
Laurel or Yanni?
well, that's one of them. There's other ones out there too. But when it plays, whatever word you're thinking of is the word you're going to hear. I'm thinking it's something kind of like that, where you go into a room, you see a lamp and say, this is a lamp. All right, this is yellow. But when we take you out of this room, we're going to talk. And when you come back in after about an hour, this lamp is now going to be green. Nobody entered the room. Nobody changed anything. you're going to walk back in and you're going to perceive the color of that lamp as green. I can only speculate that.
Because, no, because here's the thing. If I walk out of that room and then I walk back in, that lamp's still fucking yellow. It's not green.
I mean, altered perception, or did it actually turn colors?
And I walked out of the room and they shot me full of heroin? Because
No.
I'm telling you, this light right here, this is like a lamp, right? It's
Oh
red.
my god.
If this doesn't actually change, okay, it stays red, and I walk into the other room for 75 years, you tell me your microphone's going to be blue, it's going to be blue, it's going to be blue. I'm going to walk back in here and I'm going to go, it's red.
Pants, you can't change the color of that though.
What?
You won't make that blue right now.
Can't.
That's the point.
Yeah. So, like I said, there wasn't enough information
Well,
out there
you're
for
saying
me.
that these people are coming back in the room and saying it was yellow, now it's green.
I'm not
It's
saying
not.
that.
It's still yellow.
I was using that as an example of what could be happening, whether it's altered mind perception of the color, or whether they're I don't know what they're actually doing to this in these studies. I didn't have the time
I
in
get
putting all of this together to look that far into it, so I don't know
I don't
what's going
understand
on.
is how do you alter somebody's mind to think a color isn't a color?
How do you alter somebody's mind to hear Laurel or Yanni out of the same audio?
Okay, I understand that, but my example still stands that you were both laughing at right now. If I come in here and see this red light and I go back in there and I think blue, 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 and you're blasting fucking Eiffel 65 over the speakers in my house, I'm blue, the whole fucking thing. I'm coming back in and this is still red. It's not gonna, I'm not gonna see blue. Does it make sense?
No, what you're saying is totally accurate. I and also I love the Eiffel reference.
Yes.
But
That was right off the top too. I don't know how I came up with that one.
But what else you have to think about?
That is not what he's trying to say.
Tying into our topic, what you have to think about is simulation theory. Could they code that to actually be blue?
Yeah, it's as if you left the room, you came back and it's blue, but you thought it was blue the whole time because they changed it on you and you have no idea.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like they're coding, they're doing their thing. You left the room thinking it's red the whole time, but you come back thinking it's blue and it's actually blue because they coded it that way. They set it up that way.
Yes.
For you to think.
It is blue. It's not an altered perception of blue. It is blue.
Exactly. So like you're looking at red right now.
Okay, well, my point is he's talking about altered perceptions.
You
can't alter my perception to say this is blue when it's red.
That's
my point.
I was making an assumption on
I understand
the
that,
basis of their.
Saying, right. I get. I'm not saying you said it was true.
I'm just making sure.
I'm saying you're saying that's a possibility, and I'm just shooting it right the fuck out of the sky.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't think you believe that by any stretch.
No. Moving on, though.
God, I hope not.
Berkeley has been able to get a rough idea about what some test subjects are dreaming through a very similar process. So basically, in a nutshell, what I gathered from that is that Berkeley's doing tests on people about dreams, and they are, through a similar process of thought projection or whatever you want to call it, able to get a rough systematic idea of what that person's dream was about before the person tells them. So, are we still going to get some more clippable content here, or am I safe to move on?
I just feel like you guys we're not on the same page. Is the only thing.
Yeah. No, I'm on the same page.
I'm talking about altered perception. You guys are telling me I'm wrong. Like,
you feel that for you personally, there's no way you could leave that room with that microphone being red and come back and see it as blue, no matter what anybody tells you.
There's no chance without being affected by some kind of drug.
I do understand that. I get that, but what I was saying no about is that's not what they're trying to say, I don't think. I brought it up as a possibility. It's my own personal assumption. It's nothing that I found. I was just trying to come up with some sort of explanation about how it may be being done.
That's fine. I'm telling you,
So
that's not how it's happening.
I may believe that.
Altered
no way.
perceptions.
So does this mean that we all see the same thing in our rendering of the simulation? Absolutely not. Anyone who has played video games has experienced render lag. We all have seen something that no one else could see inside of the video game. I just had it happen 2 weeks ago with Bill and Dirty C. I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but what's up, Quadfather?
Quadfather.
Yep. The experience that I had just happened a few weeks ago. I had seen 2 enemy bodies laying in one of the buildings in Call of Duty Warzone. Neither Dirty C or Bill could see them. I had to take a picture and send it to Bill because he didn't believe me. They were laying perfectly in a hallway, side by side, wall to wall. This is a clue that we may be in an information-based simulation and not a material simulation. This is because the more that physics opens up and looks at molecules and atoms, they cannot find the existence of physical matter, but what is there is the existence of stored information. So, what they're saying is all of the matter in our universe, some of it contains physical matter. Some of it does not. It just is a vessel for information. Got that? We there? We on the same page with that?
Yep.
No comments?
Yeah, I'm having some real technical difficulties here, so I'll just push on.
What do you got, Bob?
You guys are lagging. It's bad. I might have to come out and come back in.
Okay.
Well, to be
I'm
honest,
getting
I'm
audio cut out
experiencing
and
the same
everything.
thing. So I'm curious if our viewers are as well.
I'm not experiencing anything.
Anybody watching? Are we clear? Are we lagging?
Nikki
Anybody
Strudel,
comment?
thanks for the follow.
Oh God.
Who the fuck is that, and how did you see that?
Because I've got the chat boss up. Since I'm the one streaming, I can see when we get new follows.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I thought it was an altered perception. My bad.
No. So, chat says that they're all seeing everything good. I've still got you guys good on my end.
Good. Yep.
So, we are all familiar with the phrase, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, did it really happen? In simulation theory, it in fact has not happened. Much like in a video game, it is widely believed that in a simulated world, anything... Oh, we lost Pants. He's going to come back in. I'm going to wait for him.
Carry on. He'll know where we are.
Okay. So, it is widely believed that in a simulated world, anything you cannot see is not rendered in. Anyone who is familiar with any kind of video game knows what it's like to move from scene to scene in a side-scroll video game or area to area within an open-world RPG game. You see things render in, whether it be the next slide on a side-scroll or mountains, buildings, scenery from a video game like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed from today. The things that you come across in life, inside the simulation, just simply exist as they are. Now, this is where it gets a little mind-blowing, and I kind of wish Pants was here for this, so that we could get his reaction. Oh, thank God he's back.
Here he goes.
I'm here. I don't know what's happening. I can hear you audio decent, but the video is just clapped. It's bad.
It's
I'm
all
just
right.
gonna not look at it, but I can hear you for now.
That's fine. So, the things you come across in life inside the simulation just simply exist as they are. Therefore, anything we cannot see ceases to exist in our reality. Take the house you're in, for example. Right now, you're likely watching us on a TV, a computer, or a phone. The only thing that exists in your world are the things that you can see around you and in your peripheral vision. Anything behind you or out of sight is not rendered in and does not actually exist until you look at it. This is because your mind, as compared to a game console or computer in this instance, does not need it to run the simulation properly. Sure, you can remember what's there, and you know what everything looks like in the back of your head from memory, but until you turn around and look at it, it's not there. At that point, the things that you're seeing now will now cease to exist as it makes room to render in what you're moving to in the new part of your world. So to explain that a little better, right now I'm sitting here and I'm looking at you guys. I got my computer screens around me. I've got my desk, my keyboard, mouse, all of that. There's a wall behind me, window. Anything behind me, if I weren't looking at the video feed, doesn't exist until I go like this and turn the chairs, the couch, everything. But you guys didn't exist when I turned to do that, if that makes any kind of sense.
But how does it exist if we can see it, but you can't?
Because it exists in
But
your
I can
world.
tell you for a fact, I didn't stop existing.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, you didn't.
Technically speaking, which direction are you facing?
What do you mean?
What direction? North, west, east, south?
I'm facing south.
Okay. So
But
theoretically, you are higher up above me on the map, so I shouldn't exist then.
no, what it's saying is the things you are looking at. Right
Yeah,
now,
but you're not looking at me other than the camera, right?
yes, so you, because of that, you exist in my world. A better example would be right now I'm in my house.
Okay.
I know that I have 3 vehicles, 2 trucks and a car parked in my driveway. But that's not rendered in my world because I don't need to see that right now. It's not until I reach up and I crack my blind and look out at my 2 trucks that I see them. And they render in and exist. You got to think of it like we're in a video game. The mountain...
So what's the explanation then for, like, say if I text you? I don't see you, but you respond to me. So if you don't exist, how do you respond to me?
Because it's not my physical being existing. You're getting a response through part of the simulation. I don't need to actually exist. When I text you back, I don't need to actually exist in your plane of existence for you to receive that.
God, that's going down a rabbit hole that I'm not sure I want to go down.
I'm out on that. I think that's a crock of shit, to be honest.
Basically, the best...
It's not even remotely believable to me.
The best way to explain it, when we're playing Call of Duty Warzone, and we're running across the map, we see things rendered in, and they render in really slow and chunky at first, and then the render clears up. It's kind of like that, but it's an instantaneous render. As I turn, everything that I need to render in to focus on renders in instantly. It's, again, just a theory. Nothing that
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just me personally. That's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
And I'll fight Elon Musk on that one. I don't care.
Elon Musk.
Thomas
Edison. These hands are E for everybody.
Yikes. Okay. I do have something noted here to talk about that might be a little bit better for you and the listeners to kind of understand on that. Schrodinger's cat. Do you guys know about Schrodinger's cat?
Nope.
Yeah.
So what,
kind of.
Bill, what Schrodinger's cat was, a physicist, Schrodinger, had a cat. And he said, I'm going to kind of prove something here. And we're going to take this cat and we're going to put it in this box. And once the cat is in the box, we can't see it, so we don't know whether it is alive or dead until we open that box up. Only then will that plane of possibility collapse and give us one of 2 outcomes.
I mean, unless you can, like, hear it making noise. in the box, then you know it's alive.
Yeah. So, it's the same thing with quantum physics and the explanation for our world. Nothing actually exists until that plane of possibility collapses and one of the outcomes becomes probability. If that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense to me. Like, I understand what you're saying. I feel like a lot of these scientists that came up with these theories were just like high or drunk and they just came up with something to sound smart, and it just got like taken as gospel. They got lucky, like they just got handpicked out of a hat and like, yeah, we're gonna run with this one. Because there's so many theories that it's like you can just blow holes in it. Just a normal person sitting here right now.
Well, something interesting.
Kind of how I felt too.
There's a lot of questions about simulation theory that quantum physicists refuse to answer. And there's a lot of speculation behind why they refuse to answer it. Nobody in quantum physics is actually moving to answer those questions. They're just going to prove on other things.
Okay, well, do you have any video evidence of simulation theory?
As far as
Anything. I mean, I sent you a couple clips. I mean, it's pretty irrelevant to what we talked about, but just based off of what we just talked about, I mean, is there anything that we can like physically see?
well, I mean, I've got another notation here to talk about it. There's a lot of glitches in the Matrix, but we as a society have been trained to not look into them. We've kind of been trained to not notice them. We've been trained not to question them. A lot of it is going to play into the videos that you've sent me, some of the other videos that we've discussed that we'll look up at the end of the podcast. It's about the best way you could even try to prove the existence of a simulation is by watching those things and going, hold up, what the fuck's the explanation for that? That's really all we can do at this point, because we ourselves as a society haven't reached the simulation point to be able to create a simulation like the one that we are allegedly in and find out the answers by doing that. So, to answer your question a little bit, though, this next section I think may kind of lead into that direction a little bit. It's not anything that's like concrete evidence, but it's stuff that would kind of hint towards us being in a simulation. So there's many different religious references to simulation theory. And what a lot of people who buy into simulation theory believe is that in order to have religion, you have to have had a peek into the world of reality. You talk to people and you talk about out-of-body experiences, life after death, near-death experiences, people who have been dead for 20 minutes, half hour, what have you, and come back. They always talk about what it was like. Some people do, some people have no experiences and just say it was a dark point that I don't remember a whole lot of. But Buddha states, no, all phenomena are like reflections in a very clear mirror, void of inherent existence. This also matches the definition of pixels. In Hindu tradition, the god Vishnu is having a quote-unquote dream. Where in the hell did he go? Did we lose him altogether?
I think he had to rock a piss again, I'm assuming. Remember, kidney stone sized bladder.
Yes. But
and Eminem.
In Hindu traditions, the god Vishnu is having a quote-unquote dream, and we are all just part of that dream. In the Vedas, they talk about Leela, the grand play of life, and how life is like a stage play, and we're all just characters. Buddhism and Hinduism have the wheel of samsara, where it is believed that a person lives one life, and at the end, they start another. or in layman's terms, reincarnation, where each life is a new realm to tackle unaccomplished tasks from past lives to bring us to that higher plane of existence. This is a lot like choosing video game characters. All right. Um, you on Assassin's Creed, you have your current character. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know, but you can jump in and you can build another character model and play on that one and have a completely different goal set. I guess Assassin's Creed might be a bad example. We'll go back to WoW. World of Warcraft, you can jump in, you can be a hunter, you can be a mage, you can be all these different characters. You can't play them simultaneously, but they can exist simultaneously. And every time you log on, you can play a different character with a different goal set, a different skill set, so forth and so on. How did it grab that? In Tibetan traditions, they have what they call dream yoga. In dream yoga, we learn to wake up within our dreams. Many of us know this as lucid dreaming. The theory is that if
That's
you can...
a wild fucking ride if you ever want to try that.
Oh, is it? So the theory is that if you can wake up inside of a dream and realize that you are dreaming, you would then be able to wake up in the real world and realize that it is no different from a dream. A lot of people ask, why would anybody do a simulation? The answer is simple. Why do people play video games? It's to experience a course of things you wouldn't inside of your real life. Or to live lives in a time that are either well beyond your world's capabilities or well behind your point in human history.
I mean, I can't even touch on it in the beginning. It could be something like running a simulation to see what happens when you introduced organized religion into a population.
Yep.
Or, I mean, literally anything.
Well, and it's also interesting to mention here that a lot of what simulation theory believers say simulations are about are ancestral simulations. So it's if we exist in a simulation right now, basically what they're saying is that future higher beings are running us in a simulation either to see what life would have been like or see if there could have been a different outcome to their race,
right,
so forth, so on, or their humanity, whatever.
We all do it. I mean, we all try to live vicariously through other people.
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
Yeah, but speaking of, you mentioned something about lucid dreaming a second ago.
Yes.
So, I have never been able to actually just like decide I'm going to lucid dream tonight, but there was a time when I was a child, I suffered from something called night terrors.
Yep.
And I had the same reoccurring nightmares every night, every single night, same thing. And I would wake up screaming bloody murder, and my parents would have to come kind of wake me out of the state. There was one night in particular where my mom said, "Hey," because I had a dream where it was a reoccurring dream where I'd fall off like the edge of like a desert cliff, thousands of feet into what was the ocean, crashing against the cliff. It was weird. It was like super desert on top, ocean on the bottom, and I just couldn't wrap my head around why I would fall and die every single time, and it would wake me up screaming. My mom said one night, "Hey man, you control your dreams. All you got to do is fly." And that's all it took for me as a little kid with my expansive imagination to just one night had the same dream, and I started to fall, and I remembered my mom saying it, and I flew. And so I flew off into the distance, and I never had the fucking dream again, ever. So, in terms of lucid dreaming, I would count that as lucid dreaming because I realized I was in a dream and I had control over it. But
yeah, I mean, I guess like I understand it more as you. I guess like when it's happened to me, it's been more of I've woken up inside the dream and I've been more of like a creator, and instead of just flying away and then we're done. You know, I'm not saying yours wasn't, but I guess just in my experience, it's been more of a I wake up in my dream and then I can literally do whatever I want for the next, I mean, it seems like days.
I mean, that sounds amazing, but it sounds like an expanded upon version with age.
Sure.
You know, like
Right.
I was like 4 when I did that.
So
Yeah, definitely could be.
I've got a funny story about night terrors since you brought it up to tell, and my wife, if she's in chat, is absolutely going to vilify me because I'm sure she dealt with it again tonight, and I feel horrible. But I have never, to my knowledge, lucid dreamed, and in all honesty, with how bad my anxiety is, I'm scared to even try because I think it would mind fuck me so bad that I'd be afraid to fall asleep ever again.
It could be one of those things too, though. Like when you do it, though, you have so much control. It could be one of those things possibly where you get so much control it doesn't affect your anxiety.
It could, but
you know what I mean? Because like a big thing with anxiety is not having control, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I'm not saying it is, but just it could be that that's what happened. Because like when I would do it, I actually tried to do it. I had to like meditate and for like weeks and shit, and like I looked up online tips and like all kinds of stuff, and eventually it worked.
Like I said, it's not so much the thought of not having control that scares me. It's the mind fuck that I would experience out here that I was able to do that within a dream, and the discovery of that power that would drive my anxiety out here outside of the dreamland. It would completely fuck with me. But
well, maybe it would drive you to create an alternate universe, something you could control, something you could do that exact same thing in.
It's a possibility.
Leave me.
Hell no, I'm dragging both of you son of a bitches in there.
You better bring your big friends.
I hate to tell you this, but you are my big friend.
I know.
So I got to tell you guys this story quick before I keep going. I tried messing with my 8-year-old. You both know that we've had behavioral issues with him in school, and he's in talking with him and kind of getting to the root of the problems. It turns out that a lot of the kids are antagonizing him, and they're turning around once he retaliates and tattling on him to get him in trouble. No. My kid is far from an angel, I'll say that. He does do his fair share of wrong. But I mean,
people still do that same exact shit when they're 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it's Sunday night now. It would have been, I believe, Friday night. I decided to mess with him a little bit. And we were all sitting down at my in-laws, and I decided to tell him about Krampus. I said, "Bud, you know how Santa brings toys and treats to the good kids, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, do you know about Krampus?" And he goes, my wife in the chat already going off. And he goes, "No, I've never heard of Krampus." I said, "Well, Krampus follows Santa Claus around, and if Santa leaves you cold because you were a bad kid, Krampus will come in and give you nightmares, and he can even eat the naughty kids." Didn't buy it. Did not buy it. But I was sitting on the couch, my wife on the other end of the couch. I had my 2-year-old toddler in my lap. He was watching TV. Did not think that he was paying attention. My mother-in-law and father-in-law and my 8-year-old sitting in the living room. Yes.
Oh, you have 3 kids.
Yes.
What made you think your 2-year-old was not paying attention?
You need to understand my 2-year-old. Usually when
they're
he's
always listening. They're worse
fixated.
Than the government. Dude, they're worse than my iPhone. They're always listening.
What do you mean? They are the perfect iPhone because you created them and now the government uses them against you.
Yes. So anyway, he was fixated on a TV and his bowl of Poppy, and I did not think that he was actually paying attention. All of a sudden, I go off into the bedroom with my wife's laptop to sit down and finish doing some research for this podcast. And about a half an hour after I got in there, my wife comes in. "Hunter's asking for you." Okay. He needs you, and he needs you now. What in the hell is going on? And all of a sudden he comes hucking ass into the room. "Daddy, ho-ho, Edie, Ho-Ho Edie? Santa Claus is Ho-Ho. So he thinks Santa Claus is going to come and eat him. So I had to go in. We sat down with my phone. We watched videos of Santa Claus being good. I had to have a conversation with him, buddy. Santa Claus isn't going to eat you. Daddy was messing with Jackson. Santa Claus is our friend. We watched some videos. He went to bed, no problems that night. Last night, bedtime hits. My wife texts me. Hunter thinks Ho-Ho is going to eat you again. So I had to FaceTime him, and I FaceTime him, and I talked to him, and Ho-Ho is not going to eat you. Daddy was just messing with Jackson. He was playing a joke. It wasn't serious. And evidently, my wife says in the chat that he's still afraid of Ho-Ho, asshole. So I traumatized my almost 3-year-old child by making him think that Santa Claus was going to eat him. I feel...
Yeah, look at Panda for a second.
I love that you say that with remorse,
Look at that
but you're
fat
loving
motherfucker.
it. Yeah, look at that. Dude. Look at that
He's
belly.
just like,
Unit.
Oh, look at Hey.
that's a thick ass boy.
That's a thick-ass boo.
So yeah, that was my funny nightmare story. Now I've been dealing with that.
Oh my god. Oh, still has his gay paw, dude. He's just
No
chilling.
bullshit. He is a fucking burrito.
Dude, he's my little nugget.
My wife said she'll trade me for your dog.
Paul would be laying on the bed the same way right now in the background.
I was gonna say, could you imagine Paul laying just like that?
My big old sausage
Guarantee
ass.
Guarantee it. Oh my god.
So anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
What
let's get back on track.
I'm gonna sit like this for the rest of the podcast.
Please do.
What's outside the simulation? Well, Elon Musk was asked recently, what would you ask an artificial general intelligence? He replied with, what's outside the simulation? General consensus is that it could be a number of things. Aliens, future humans, time travelers, God and the angels, or pure consciousness. So why not have a simulated perfect world? Because it's strongly believed that humans would not accept a perfect simulated world. There needs to be strife, there needs to be challenges, there needs to be boredom, and there needs to be goals in order for the simulation to exist. If we think back to the Matrix again, they said in the movie that the first Matrix was a perfect world and it simply did not work. So I had referenced earlier how the ways we peek outside of the simulation are through near-death experiences, and the basis of all new religion is based off of those experiences. A good reference for that is the 3 men and an elephant. You have 3 blind men and they all touch a different part of the elephant. One touches the trunk
What
and...
in the fuck?
Huh?
What the hell kind of story are we getting into here?
Yeah, we got. I was gonna say if we're in the perfect fucking simulation,
We're not.
we're not.
That's what I'm trying to say. So
No, I'm talking about the damn touching an elephant.
he pulls Mike back in.
I mean, what?
Just dramatically.
just hold on. So if you have
3 men and an elephant sounds like a bad.
it's an analogy.
time.
It's an analogy for
in
perception.
Mexico.
It's an analogy for perception. So if you have 3 blind men touching an elephant, they're all going to touch different parts of the elephant. One's going to touch the trunk and say that it's.
I got the trunk.
One's going to touch the trunk.
Trunk, mama.
Why did he have to mute? Come on.
Okay, start over. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Well, don't ever do this again. Please. God.
All right.
If you have one of the blind men touch the elephant and he's touching the trunk, he's going to say, oh, this is a snake. Another one touches the body and he's going to say, oh, this is a house. Another one touches the leg and he's going to say, oh, this is a tree trunk. So that kind of gives us a basis of the perception of what life is outside of the simulation. and the perception for the basis of the different religions that we see in the world today.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep it together, but it's a tree trunk.
Yikes. So a lot of you, moving on past the comic of the 3 men and an elephant and what happened one night.
Please, let's.
Can't help myself.
One night in Tijuana.
Yes. A lot of you might be asking what happens to characters when not logged into a game. There's a few different theories as to what the NPC characters may do in a simulation or video game when the game is off. Some believe that they go about life as usual, not sleeping but simply existing. This could be referenced in part to when you're playing a video game and you've last saved and exited with your character in a shop. You remember a specific character working the shop, and specific items within the shop's inventory. However, when you wake up, a different character is at the shop with different items for sale, as if they rotated shifts and someone has come in to purchase and sell goods in the time you were off. Or maybe how a shop owner may have to come and open the shop when you relog into the game. Let's take World of Warcraft again, for instance. In World of Warcraft, the game world is constantly buzzing with both player-controlled and non-player-controlled characters. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, someone is online, fighting NPC characters or interacting with different shops and merchants. So even when you're not online, things are constantly changing. And to put this into reality for us, it would be a lot like our neighbors. If you walk outside, nobody knows what is going on at a neighbor's house until you walk out and see through the window that they're sitting down to supper, or that they're sitting down watching TV, or sitting out on their porch having a beer, you wave to them, whatever.
I mean, some neighbors know
Fair
what's
enough.
going on in your house,
I mean, yeah, there's...
even though you don't understand how that happens.
I happen to have one asshole that lives across the street that was so obsessed with what I'm doing that he sat down, he counted how long my furnace would run, and then count how long it was off before it would start running again. So there are those neighbors out there.
Yeah.
But we can think of it like a gas station too. To us, nothing changes in that gas station until we go to get our favorite product and it's gone. We just, last time we were there, they had plenty in stock. We're going to go back. Hopefully they've got it again. And it's kind of how the simulation has trained us, that nothing is always going to be constant or a guarantee.
Well, I want to talk about the simulation. Like 7 months ago, when toilet paper disappeared. Well, the simulation should have had enough. What the fuck?
Is that
Yes.
anything like one of the
That's it.
one
That's
of
all I
the
got.
and I mean I don't know. I just don't even know where to go on that, because that is like, that was one of the most ridiculous fucking... It's a pandemic and people go out and they buy shit paper. Food,
It's happening again.
food.
Yeah.
What?
It's second round is
Yeah.
happening right now.
Oh my
Yeah, down
god.
here, I was at Fleet Farm the other day, and the shelves were empty, and they had paper signs taped up all over the place saying "limit 2 per customer,"
Wow.
and there was not a roll of toilet paper in the store.
I mean,
Same thing here.
I-
Hillsboro, Oregon. Same thing.
I don't like to bring politics into thing, and this isn't a direct attack on a party or a stance of my political view or anything, but it's a laughable point from the recent election that I can bring up. Joe Biden said Americans don't panic. Why in the fuck are we panicking and buying up all the toilet paper and paper towel?
I mean, I'm good. I work at a place that makes that shit, so I mean, I've got enough to last a lifetime, but
This is
so it doesn't really bother me too much. But it's still, I don't understand.
unreal. I mean, I grew up in the sticks. I know how to wipe my ass with a leaf, and there's plenty of them on the ground right now. I think I'm going to be all right. I'll live. I'm not even going to worry about it. I've got 3 rolls of toilet paper in my house, and I'll bet you I can make that shit last throughout the next pandemic.
Pun intended.
Leaves, the original 2-ply.
Yes. Grab a stack, just make sure they're off of a tree and not a 3-leafed plant on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have big
I
problems.
tell you what, though, if you do get some off the ground and you can verify their maple leaves when they're got like morning dew on them, oh, is that nice?
Oh,
It's like a wet wipe.
yes. Yes.
God, you guys
Anyway.
are killing me. You guys are killing me.
Why?
Hey,
I got a fat
When-
fuck dog there that when the apocalypse happens, I might have to use his ear because I have nothing else.
Dude, socks, they're rewashable.
yep.
You just get a 5-gallon pail, put it next to the shitter. You take your socks, you wipe your ass, you throw them in the 5-gallon pail. When it fills up, you take it, dump it in the washer. Good to go for another round.
Or if you're close enough to a body of water, you just shit in there. Like just go swimming and just shit, and you don't never have to wipe. It's like a bidet.
I don't know.
Nick, get the pail. That one. We're gonna need
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bill actually. It's funny because Bill actually has a chamber pot, which is hilarious.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I don't know why this just popped into my head while we were talking about this, but I can remember being like 10 or 11 and watching MTV Cribs, and Marilyn Manson never had shit tickets in his house. Anybody who came,
That doesn't. surprise
anybody
me.
who, when he was on MTV
He probably
Cribs,
licked it out of people's.
No.
assholes. Fucking
no,
weirdo.
if you shit at Marilyn Manson's house, you had to take a bath afterwards. He always had clean washcloths, but he never
I
had
will
toilet
shit
paper.
on Marilyn Manson's house.
So,
Good God. Well, that's a fun fact I never knew I needed to know, but
yes,
now I know.
yes, now you know. So anyway,
Unbelievable.
oh, I didn't want
Anyways.
that one. That's the wrong one again.
So what's up? You got any back to
Well,
the subject?
I've got one more small paragraph here, and then we can move on with video examples and
Okay.
stuff like that. So the other theory is that everyone and everything inside of the game or simulation stops. Time is frozen and nothing changes. So to apply this to when we sleep, nothing in the world outside actually changes until we wake back up. Then the simulation would load in the different environmental changes as we begin to function again. How we could apply this to real world is we go to bed, we wake up the next morning, and it snowed outside. We have no recollection of that happening. We don't know when it started, anything like that. We just wake up and boom, it's there. And for us, as we're waking up, because we weren't there to see it happen, it would be the simulation loading in that environmental change. Going back to the gas station again, we left the gas station with certain products in stock, and that for us in our world doesn't actually change until we walk back through the doors of the gas station again, and that change loads in. If that makes any kind of sense.
What about the sign outside that says the price changed?
I mean, do you have any knowledge of it before you see the sign?
Well, what if I bought that same product the day before?
Yeah. Do you? But were you there when the price change happened? You didn't find out about
I
it.
see your point. I see your point.
You
Okay,
didn't
all right.
find out about it until you went back to the gas station.
Fair enough.
I guess that could explain something along the lines of like after a certain amount of hours with no sleep, why people go crazy.
Yeah.
It's just the simulation could be crashing because it needs an update.
Yep.
Maybe.
Ooh.
It's a good
Possibly.
pos.
So sleeping is the update.
Yeah.
Could be.
I update right there every night.
Attaboy.
Next to that fat fuck. Love you.
He's gonna slap you the mouth. I'm here for it.
He's just gonna paw me. Look at him. He's ready. Right in the face. Sorry, Paul. Anyway.
That's all right. So anyway, we've got a few different videos here that Bill provided. I guess, do you want to throw out the NDT and Elon Musk ones?
Yeah, might as well.
And well, we ran into a little issue with YouTube last week with some copyrighted material from the races that we covered. There was about a 17-second clip that we had to edit out of the video. So we're going to try to be really careful and not play a whole lot of audio. But I'll bring up the first plain one. And all this is, and there's going to be a lot of people in chat who kind of say, well, that can be explained away. And before I do this, I got to remember to go back to my display capture.
I've got something too about the YouTube videos, but we can talk about it off air too.
We can do that. I mean, it might be better to throw up on.
I just under my assumption there's laws protecting you when you're reviewing a product, and so I guess like you're allowed to review songs and videos on a podcast without a license as long as you're reviewing them.
Yes.
And so in my mind, if we're looking at a video and talking about it, I don't see how that's not reviewing it.
I don't either, and I didn't really want to fight that copyright claim with it being our first one and not knowing what the penalty was going to be. It turned out that there was none, but I guess if we would have kind of disputed that, we could have said that we were discussing the video. But the section of video that was flagged for copyright claim, there was no discussion over. It was just the audio and video portion of the end of the race. And we didn't really touch on that or anything at all, so I just edited out that section and called it good. So this video, the first video that Bill provided, is video of a passenger plane that is mysteriously suspended in mid-air. When he first sent these to me a while back when we were talking about these planes in particular, I was kind of quick to say, well, that could be argued with movement and stuff like that. But as we go through, there will be other videos that we show that really kind of make you stop and go, wait, hold the phone here. What exactly is happening? Because now we can't explain that away. But here's the first video.
Nothing. Look at everything moving around it. Absolutely nothing. Just stagnant.
Yeah, and I mean, when you break it down, you can try to explain it away in numerous different things, but in reference to the trees and stuff around it, it's not advancing. And that plane is traveling faster than a car. So
yeah, in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Like, that thing should zoom by. There's no logical.
I'm just seeing it now, so.
Here's another one with a plane. I'm going to turn the audio right off on these. So you can see the cameraman isn't really moving side to side or anything, and the plane's just sitting there. There's not even a flutter in that banner behind it.
And so if you had the audio on this one, like these guys aren't even speaking English. They're like, what the fuck is happening? But
yeah,
you can tell in the tone. But
that banner just started fluttering a little bit at the very end. But yeah, I mean, this is actually a really good one where you can explain it by the movement of the two objects against each other. They're standing still, and it's just there.
Well, this one's pretty funny too, because if you rewind to the beginning, the plane is right next to the building. The guy hasn't moved much, the one filming, but originally it was right next to the building. But now where he stands, it's like almost like it's going backwards, which would made it 10 times weirder. Like, what the fuck is happening? Because look, it's right there next to the edge of the building. And as the video goes on, it slowly moves the opposite direction.
Well, you can see he moved back out, and it looks like he walked across the street, so he's a lot closer to the building than he originally was.
Look at that. It's still moving. It's just odd. It's just really strange.
Yeah.
If that was like, if somebody edited that, then kudos to you, man. Put your fucking name in the comments. I'll fucking give you credit. But that was strange.
So we'll go on to the third one here.
should put the audio of this one.
I mean, that one, it looks like it's just moving really, really slow.
Well, if you listen to the audio, the people in the background say it's been there for a couple hours. They don't know why it hasn't left.
Yeah, I do have the audio up, so. What's up with that one flying above it?
That's my point. Is you have a plane in the background for reference that's just cruising on by. You have that one. You have birds that fly by in a second here. That's staying still, but everything else is just continuing on. See, there's a bird. Odd. Just very odd.
So before we go on, I'm going to try to find...
I mean, like, you can see these planes too. Like, it's not like, you know, the United States Air Force, among other Air Forces, has, like, you know, Harrier jet technology where they can hover and stuff. But, like, you can see these planes are not that kind of plane. You know?
Yeah, that's a fucking Cessna.
Right.
You know,
That's
getting
like
paid
a
with an
fucking
advertisement behind it. Like that's,
single engine biplane with a fucking propeller. Like, it, you can't hover with those.
yeah, yeah. And I specifically mentioned that one, or sent that one, I should say, because of the plane right behind it just cruising on by, and then the bird flying into frame, and everything seems to be fine, but that fucking plane with the ad is just sitting there, not moving.
So I'm trying to find the one that I saw. I think this might be it. But we had talked about the one with the bird suspended in air and them knocking it down with a broom.
Yeah.
You knocked an airplane out of the air with a broom?
No, a bird. And I think this is the video. I might have seen it on TikTok. But they ended up pulling a truck up. And somebody got up on top of the truck with a broom and knocked this bird out of the air. But you can see the bird's just there. It's stuck in midair. Yeah, this is the video.
Is the bird participating in a Harlem Shake?
That's a good question. But I mean, obviously you can see everybody around it's moving. Other birds flying around. And then if we fast forward here, they pull this truck up. And somebody gets up on top of the truck with a broom and they're going to knock the bird out of the air. And it's going to reanimate.
I mean, we're all in agreement that birds aren't real to begin with, right?
No.
Unfucking believable.
They're all
My wife
drones.
My wife would like for them not to be.
No.
You don't know. I mean, this crow is freaking out.
I'm not buying this one.
I was just gonna say, the more I watch it, initially I had just seen the part where they knock it and it falls to the ground. But it kind of looks to me like it's caught on like.
Oh yeah, that thing's definitely caught in something.
It's just caught in some wire.
There we go, a kite string or something. Now that I watched that.
There it goes. There it goes. Yeah, I don't buy that one at all.
Yeah, when I initially had seen that one, it was just the last part where he hits it with the broom, and it flies off. But there's a number of other videos out there where people's security cameras have caught birds that fly in front of it, stop, and then just suddenly reanimate. That could obviously be explained by lag in the video camera system, stuff like that. But it's something to think about. So this is another YouTuber's channel. We aren't going to play the audio on this one. but we'll put it up for you guys. So this one is a guy records a dude in a car move, but his mirror reflection isn't moving at all.
No, it's moving. It just doesn't move with him.
Yeah. So there in the mirror, it looks like he's still looking down, but he's looked up, he's looking around, and then the mirror reflection looks away, and he's still looking straight.
Play that one more time. Yeah, it's so weird.
I just caught an ad here. I really need to get an ad blocker. This is the one that I was going to try to pull up if you didn't. I found it funny that when it happened, the kid's eyes go completely black too. I don't know if that would be signs of editing or if that could be
Or
more demonic.
Black-eyed kids.
Yeah, more demonic than an instance of the simulation.
I can't wait for that episode. Them little motherfuckers.
Ant
Dude.
is cock stiff.
Bad too.
So it says here, unsettling footage appears to show boy's reflection moving away before he does. So this one I got to start at 112, it says, right?
Yep.
It's weird to me that their eyes are all completely black in all of these videos.
Yeah, but watch his movements. He doesn't just sit there. It's not like a freeze frame. Like the one in the mirror,
Yeah.
like goofs around just the same.
So
Just weird.
this one we have cases of cars vanishing and appearing. We've got 3 different ones. In here, another ad. Sorry about that. No free ads. Get off of here. Oh. Here's the ad again.
Unreal.
So this one, the car drives through a chain link fence, right?
Yeah, it's a police chase. This was actually on like Cops in the 90s. Just drove through a chain link fence and disappeared, and the cop, well, decided to stop. but it was ultimately known as the ghost car. It's actually very popular if you look it up. The ghost car cop chase is what you'll find.
I hate being so fucking far behind.
I think I remember seeing this episode aired and thinking it was weird.
Yeah, me too. I actually watched it live. Well, not live, but when they aired it.
Yeah, I mean, the chain link fence was obviously still there, and you ceased to see taillights or anything from right there on.
Yeah, it was just weird. Uh, other people tried to like disprove it and do their own experiments, and can't come up with anything. Like a lot of people thought, oh, the bottom half of the chain link fence wasn't attached to the pole, so they just slid right under. Nope.
So this one, a car appears out of nowhere and causes a crash. Yeah, there was no sign of that thing at all. In any of that. And you got one last one here. I'm assuming it's a similar scenario.
Yeah. This one might be possible to explain away, but
I don't know about that, dude.
well, watch it in slow mo. Maybe someone ran that red light, and the cars are blocking the line of view.
It's possible, but I feel like with how close that car is and how long it is, you'd see something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's other instances too.
Yeah, I mean, I threw it in there because I thought it was worthy, but
Um, there's instances where there's like people call it superhuman stuff where people have narrowly avoided accidents or been hit by cars and get up and walk away, no problem. Stuff like that. There's a lot of really good videos out there. I guess one thing I will do is I'll point you guys before we part ways here in some of the things that I watched on simulation theory. So obviously there's the Elon Musk videos. There is a gentleman by the name of Rizwan Virk who wrote a video, and his Google Talk is what I pulled a lot of my information out of. It's up on YouTube. You can go and watch it to get a little bit more in-depth stuff that I covered. But his book, from what I've heard, is really, really very good. We mentioned at the beginning of the episode Neil deGrasse Tyson. He did a podcast with the comedian Chuck Nice, and they talk about simulation theory and different possibilities and probabilities. If you just search simulation theory on YouTube, there's a lot of different, I guess, venues for you to do research on. There's a lot of videos from Nick Bostrom on there. There's a lot of videos from other sources on there. There's one that I watched. George Smoot did a TED Talk, and he kind of spends right around 20 minutes trying to convince you that you're living in a simulation. It's a really good video to watch. He brings up an interesting point in that one. Did you guys know that since the invention of the internet, pornography has consisted of 50% of all online sales the entire time the internet's existed?
That doesn't fucking surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either.
Surprise me either.
But
I would have thought it would have been higher than that, honestly.
he goes in to talk about a little bit where they're going with pornography and how they're gonna turn that into simulation based stuff as well, and he goes through a lot of really good information in his TED Talk. Nick Bostrom and Joe Rogan both have had sit downs about simulation theory. There's a lot of really good information out there about it, and it attacks it from kind of any different side that you could try to view it from. So really, really good sources out there anyway.
Yeah, does anybody in the comments have any questions, anything, any viewers, anything lastly you want to say?
I don't think we're getting anything, so I guess we'll go ahead and call it, boys. If you're new to the podcast, go ahead, follow our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Facebook and TikTok, I think, are at Skeptaholics Podcast. Twitter is at Skeptaholics. YouTube, you can find us by searching Skeptaholics Podcast. We're on the podcast platforms that we talked about at the beginning of the episode: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music and Alexa, Spotify, and Podbean, just by searching the Skeptaholics Podcasts. Next week, I'm kind of tossed up on what we're going to cover. I haven't figured it out yet. I have a few different ideas. I'm going to try to throw it up on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page by tomorrow afternoon, what I come up with. But we've been kind of heavy on the conspiracy and light on the unexplained, unsolved, and true crime aspect of it. So I think I kind of want to go that direction. I'm just not sure which subject I want to cover out of that. So keep an eye on the socials for what we're going to cover next week. And if you guys got nothing else, I'll kick us off.
I'm good.
No. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate every review.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.